Good day and welcome back to another Dbz Dokkan battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at all of the DB Heroes announcements, or information that's been added in, and preview them and just discuss them. Because there's so many units, I am going to focus a lot on Vegito and SS3 Goku Black and kind of not as in depth on the other ones, because otherwise it's going to be like a 30-minute video. Unless you guys dig that, then obviously leave a comment down below. But we have here and this is going to be a mouthful, Super Full Power Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker Vegito Xeno. This guy obviously is the full power limit breaker version of the SS4 Vegito that we got a couple years back. He is a Dragon Ball Heroes Giant Power Fuse Fighters lead. I think it's pretty good. And he gives another 30% for crossover category characters. This is fine. It's basically just an adaptation of a lot of the leader skills we saw last year, and yeah, I think it's more than fine. A lot of the super units are obviously SS4 covered. This gives them the ability to run with like the anniversary units, and yeah, just in general pretty good basis. Super Saiyan, Shocking Speed, Prepare for Battle, Power Bestow Back Guard, Fuse Fighter, Saiyan Raw, and Fierce Battle. Very good link set. Very solid. Saiyan Raw is obviously great, good coverage, and yeah, pretty good stuff. I think so far so good. He has an entrance animation, okay, which gives him a chance of performing a critical hit plus 30%, and damage reduction of 30% extra for 6 turns from his entry turn. Okay, this seems unconditional. So for the first 6 turns, he's going to have 70% damage reduction in total, or 60% damage reduction. And we'll talk about that later on. But this is pretty good. So a flat 30%, flat 30%, pretty solid stuff. Key plus 3 attack and defense at 200%. Don't be misled by the size of some of these passives. DB Heroes units traditionally have lower stats than most units. So even though it says like 200%, 150%, it's not like he's got a lot of stats or anything. So he is going to be a little bit kind of reduced. But still, 200% attack and defense, pretty good, and an additional 150 when performing a super. An additional attack and defense of 100% with a great chance of launching an additional super attack when there is another Giant Power or crossover category ally attacking in the same turn, or Giant Power or crossover category enemy. This is fine. It being locked behind Giant Power or crossover is okay. I mean, you've got now in Super Saiyan 4 Goku, you've got so many good units that it's not a big issue to get the Giant Power, and with all the crossover buffs, that's also not a big problem. So it's not as big a hindrance to only lock it behind one. Then he has chance of performing a crit plus 40% and damage received by another 30% if all allies attacking the same turn are Giant Power or crossover category units. I believe, and someone can correct me, but I believe this means that all the allies attacking the same turn have to be Giant Power, or they have to all be crossover. It can't be part crossover, part Giant Power. It has to be one or the other, as far as I understand. However, obviously it makes him ridiculous, as for the first 6 turns he'll have 60% damage reduction and 70% crit chance, which is pretty nuts. So it's interesting. I'll have to see. I believe that's how it works, but someone can correct me obviously in the comments, but I believe that's how it works. So it has to be a full rotation of either Giant Power or crossover category. Next we have his active skill. This can be activated when all allies are crossover category allies, starting from the 3rd turn or starting from the 6th turn otherwise. Greatly raises attack temporarily and guaranteed crits, which is all fine. And he's on Dragon Ball Heroes, Giant Power, Fuse Fighters, Crossover, Patara, Full Power, Time Travelers, Final Trump Card, Battle Awaits, Defenders of Justice, Time Limit, Accelerated Battle, and Power Beyond Super Saiyan. Then he raises attack for 1 turn and causes mains damage to the enemy. I think the raising attack is a little bit of a shame. As much as I understand that he can still be very strong defensively, it just feels like with the way content ages up, feels like we're going to be one event away at the 9th anniversary from him probably not having enough defense, and then you're going to wish that he had raising a defense at least. But hey, we'll have to see how that phases out. Overall, I would have to say he looks good. I think he looks pretty solid. it will be interesting to see how the SS4 Vegito, because I believe he'll be getting an easy A, comes out as well, because they will be best pairing partners, and that Vegito is a support. If that Vegito ends up being crazy, then the two could be a really nutty pairing, which could be really, really good. So we'll have to see. Next we have the Crimson Masked Saiyan Super Saiyan Rose 3, yes. And this is before transformation. Now he's got Dragon Ball Heroes, Super Saiyan 3 or transformation boost category, key +3, HP attacking defense 170%, another 30% for those who belong to crossover. That's fine. Brutal beatdown, Super Saiyan, godly power, prepared for battle, nightmare, fear and faith, and fierce battle. So a very good link set for Rose based units, very similar to normal Rose units. He has key +3, attack and defense of 180%, an additional 150% when attacking, high chance of guarding all attacks, an additional defense and guards all attacks when there are another 3 or more crossover category allies on the team, and launches an additional attack. There's a great chance of coming a super attack when there's an enemy whose name includes Goku. So decent here, high chance of guarding, that's fine. The additional defense in that with the crossover category units is to be expected. It's always a shame when they tie it down to crossover. If they just had a crossover or / time traveler, he would have the same flexibility as Vegito, and he'd be great on Zamasu's team. It's not to say that he won't be great anyway, but it just does limit him a little bit. But the rest seems fine. Definitely looks like he's going to be more crit based, defensive based. Dragon Ball Heroes, SS3, Transformation Boost, Crossover, Realm of Gods, Time Travelers, Inhuman Deeds, Corroded Body and Mind, Accelerated Battle, Power Beyond Super Saiyan Power Wishes, and Full Power. Now he does raise attack permanently, which is interesting, and raises defense 1 turn, so you can stack attack, which is nice. Then he'll transform from the 5th turn from start of battle unconditionally. When he transforms, he becomes Crimson Masked Saiyan Super Saiyan Rose 3 Full Power. Yup, the names are going to be great for video titles. Here, obviously, leader skill doesn't change, link skills don't change, which is good. Recovers 40% HP, and from the next turn onwards recovers 15% HP, that's pretty good. Key +4, attack and defense of 200%, that's great. An additional 150% when attacking, that's great. Raises attack and defense based on health by 150%, that's great. Unconditional guards all attacks, and launches an additional super attack. There's a high chance of becoming a super attack, that's great. And if there's an enemy's name includes Super Saiyan God SS, launches another attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack. So loses a lot of the conditionality upon transformation, which I think is good. The fact that he recovers HP, the fact that he raises attack and defense, the fact that he now guards all attacks unconditionally. I think all of this is really good, and this makes him a really solid option now all of a sudden for the Zamasu team. It's from the 5th turn, so I think overall I don't think it'll be a huge hindrance to run him on Zamasu, considering you could also encompass some other interesting units there. So very, very good. And he raises attack and defense for 1 turn, which is kind of to be expected. So the transformation makes him way better. Raw defense and guard can only take you so far, so we will have to see what those end stats do look like. Remember, Heroes units do traditionally have lower stats, so even though he's got multiple levels of attack and defense there, it is going to depend on how it all comes together. But I think overall he's looking fine. Next we're going into the banner units. Now these first couple units will Dokkan Awaken. So here we have Super Saiyan God SS Vegeta Berserk Controlled, which is very, very interesting. Obviously a new transformation, so a brand new unit, crossover category lead of 130%, same warrior race, prodigy, Super Saiyan, royal lineage, Saiyan pride, prepared for battle and fierce battle, it's all pretty good. Key +3, attack and defense of 180%, medium chance of performing a crit, plus an additional attack and defense of 50%, chance of performing a crit, plus 10% per Dragon Ball Heroes category ally, attacking in the same turn. Obviously that adds up, so we're looking at 50% crit chance, and then he gets a 280% passive, but it's multiplicative, plus an additional attack and defense with each super attack performed, plus an additional attack of 180% and chance of crit when facing only one enemy, and then launches an additional super attack and high chance of evading when facing 2 or more. Just a kind of standard good statistical unit, more than likely. Decent offense, crit built in, definitely can build him with additionals in mind. Very solid unit, a little bit of a flexy situation with multiple target enemies and gaining evasion, but raw defense, raw defense, raw defense. So it's going to depend on how high that defense can get, because he doesn't have guard or any other mechanisms. Nice amount of categories: crossover, realm of the gods, pure sins, time travelers, Vegeta's family, sibling bond, worthy rivals, bond of master and disciple, DB heroes, miraculous awakening, all pretty good stuff. And then he raises defense 1 turn, disables enemy's guard and causes supreme damage. Disabling guard, somewhat helpful. Raising defense 1 turn, okay. Like I said, a lot's going to depend on his base stats and how he comes out, but realistically speaking, as I've said before, when it relies on raw defense and we don't have guard, then there is definitely a lack of scalability there for the long term. But still, could be a very fun unit. Definitely going to be dupe spaced and could be a good damage dealer. Super full power Saiyan 4 limit breaker Broly. This guy is a time traveler's elite, 130%. Brutal beatdown, Saiyan warrior race, Super Saiyan, prepare for battle, nightmare Saiyan, raw and fierce battle. So a good link set for a giant power team. Attack and defense 200%, key +3. Additional attack and defense of 100% when attacking. An additional attack, there's a high chance of becoming a super attack. Launches an additional attack when facing 2 or more enemies. And launches an additional attack, there's a great chance of becoming a super attack when there's a fused fighters category enemy. So very simple. Attack and defense 200%, extra 100% when attacking, that's multiplicative. Launches an additional attack, there's a high chance of becoming a super. So crit build, maybe a little bit of additional. His additionals are very dependent on other enemies, so nothing too crazy there. Brutal beatdown, time travelers, pure Saiyans, full power, DB heroes, giant power, crossover, power beyond Super Saiyan. And then he raises defense for 4 turns and causes supreme damage to enemy. Gonna be a unit that looks really fun with some support. Isn't going to be a unit that's going to be super fun long term. Basically just an upgraded version of the original Broly, Super Saiyan 4 Broly. So yeah, he's going to be fun, but he's not going to be a long lasting unit. Dark King Fu, brand new unit type name, so some linking options here. Battle of Wits category, demonic power, brainiacs, cold judgment, big bad bosses, godly power, fear and faith, and fierce battle. Actually, the Rose did not have big bad bosses. Just to double check, he did not have big bad bosses, which is a bit of a problem for him actually. Attack and defense of 150%, plus an additional attack and defense of 150% when performing super attack. Extreme class allies 30%. Randomly changes key spheres to strength key spheres when there's 3 or more crossover category allies on the team. Plus an additional attack of 100% with a strength key sphere obtained. Chance of evading enemy's attack up 10%, up to 50% in extreme class allies, plus 1 key, and an additional attack and defense of 4% per strength or rainbow key sphere obtained. So if I understand this correctly, he has attack and defense of 150%, another 150% when performing a super. He is a 30% support, and he will gain 100% attack if he obtains 1 strength key sphere. However, for every key sphere he obtains, he will also provide evasion, additional key, and also attack and defense support. So pretty good. Obviously the orb changing is locked behind crossover, and the orb changing will help him be way more consistent, but either way, it could still be a very good support. Obviously evasion really helps him out a lot. Core judgment, big bad bosses, very strong link set, so very exciting there. Raises defense 1 turn and seals enemy super attack. So good stuff. I think Dark King Fu could be a very good floating support on normal teams, and could be a mainstay second start option for the crossover extreme team. Golden Metal Cooler, crossover category lead, strongest clan in space, auto regen, fusion, deficit boost, shocking speed, core judgment, shine the limit. Again, no big bad bosses, which is a bit of a shame. I know he's not a big bad bosses in the super universe, but or the heroes universe, but still. Attack and defense at 200%, and additional attack and defense at 80% for HP is 50% or more when performing a super attack. Launches an additional attack, there's a great chance of becoming a super attack. Reduces damage received by 20%, key +1, additional attack of 40%, and an additional damage reduction of 80% up to 40% per crossover category ally on the team. Character's super attack will be sealed if HP is 20% or less. So a unit that's designed only for the crossover team. Very good unit though. The 80% is multiplicative. The damage reduction can get up to 60%, which is very, very good. and the overall damage can be pretty solid with a guaranteed or pretty high chance of supering, so really good stuff. Crossover, Res Warriors, full power transformation, but you probably only want to run him on crossover or crossover based teams, but still pretty good stuff. Greatly raises attack and defense 1 turn and causes supreme damage to the enemy. And then I believe we come to the final unit that they revealed details for, which is the Janemba Modified. Crossover lead of 150%, brutal beatdown, big bad bosses, good, metamorphosis, good, shocking speed, nightmare, fear and face, shattering limits. So a very traditional link set here for Janemba, which is good. Very limited in categories though, only 4 of them, but I think he's going to be really good. Launches an additional attack. There's a great chance of becoming a super attack when facing 2 or more enemies, and guards all attacks for 5 turns from a character's entry turn. Attack and defense of 40% per crossover category ally on the team, an additional attack of 80% with each attack performed, up to 240, an additional defense with each attack received, and key +2 and a great chance of forming a critical hit starting from the character's next turn after the character performs or receives the 5th attack in battle. So very interesting, a lot depending on the amount of crossover category characters on the team, but he does raise attack and defense by 30% and also lower the enemy's attack and defense for 3 turns. Definitely a unit that's kind of similar to Vegeta in the sense that he relies a lot on raw defense, which is a little bit of a shame. Definitely someone that could be really good depending on how many dupes you have, but he is going to be very much dependent on like overall what you can provide for him. But yeah, I think pretty decent. A lot of them relying on raw defense, so I think that's a bit of a shame overall. Raw defense does not age very well, and with their low stats, the multipliers don't show up to be as high as people might expect, but we'll have to see. But yeah, let's take a look at the animations and take it from there. I think the heroes' animations in general kind of fall into the category of being really kind of okay. They're interesting, I think, because the characters are so interesting and so different. They are definitely better than, yeah, I would say like free-to-play units, of course. Maybe on par with like premium free-to-play units. Maybe. Even then, some of them are definitely worse than, I mean, if you took like LR Babadi and his animations, definitely better than obviously, you know, the heroes units. But they're not terrible. I think they're good. Obviously, it depends a lot on the source material for the unit. A lot of them amount to a lot of key blasts with big effects afterwards. But I think overall they're serviceable. You are more hiring for the absurdity, you know, you're summoning for the absurdity of the team. You're not summoning because the animations blow you away. I think the premium units, there are some really good shots. I mean, like that one just there, you saw of SS3 Rose. I think is an awesome shot. His transformation here is done pretty well. Not insane, but pretty well. There's some great shots in it as well. I think, yeah, like I would say the animations are good, not great, is my general opinion. And I would say, you know, if you're looking for, there's not like LR Vegito blue levels of custom animations here. We're looking at, you know, good level of heroes animations here. I wouldn't say it's anything crazy. I would not say it's anything bad. It's just kind of a mixed bag. And yeah, like I say, I think you're always more invested for the units and the absurdity of the team than anything else. I think the premium units look decent, but I wouldn't say they are craziest. I think they're good. They kind of remind me of like always a year behind in terms of Dokkan animations, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But yeah,